Welcome to Pawpaw's Workshop. In the last video for the Happy Halloween project that I did a multiple of a different project using just a couple of graphics. And I had asked you guys, which one would you like to see carved? Overwhelmingly, your response was you wanted to see the pumpkin. So this is the pumpkin that I had carved and showed in that video. Now, since I have already carved this one, I'm going to include that into the free projects. And today I'm going to take another pumpkin with the cat on it and carve that one for you and provide that in the same download link. So let's get started. Before we get started, I need to ask you guys a real big favor. Recently, YouTube has changed their algorithms and it's made it increasingly difficult to be able to get my videos out so that everybody can see them. So I'm reaching out to everyone in the community to be able to please, if you like my videos and like what I'm showing and demonstrating and teaching in my woodworking and the CNC projects, please give me a like, share this video with as many people as you can, and subscribe to my channel. This will help trigger those algorithms so that I'll be able to continue to teach and share my enthusiasm for the woodworking and the CNC world. And I want to thank you very much for the support of this channel. What you guys are doing really is making a difference. So thank you very much. Now, let's get back to today's project. I'm going to be including this Happy Halloween pumpkin with the cat, and this is actually set up ready to be able to carve. And I have this set for a 90-degree V-bit. Then on the next workpiece, I have the actual cutout set up for you so that you'll be able to carve that all the way through using an 1/8 inch bit. And this is set at the depth of the 0.26 so that it'll carve all the way through. And I'm going to leave the tabs in here, and that's going to be up to you whether or not you want to keep the tabs or remove them. But I'm going to go ahead and slide these tabs over and put them in a logical place. In addition to the first pumpkin that I showed, I have another one that is set up here ready for you to carve. Again, it's set for a 90-degree V-bit and it's set for the 1/4 inch material. Now, I do not have the outline on this for the offset, but I've shown you how to do it, so you can do that one. And then this next cat is the one that we're going to carve today. And I'm going to make a few changes to this one and get it set up to be able to carve. But don't forget, I've also included the witch, and I have the witch set up where it symbolizes where she's passing in front of the moon. I have just the silhouette of the witch. We'll slide this over for you so you can see that a little bit better. And of course, I've included the Happy Halloween that you can also carve. So all of this will be set up in a download on the Inventable site so that you can carve this. And this is a free download. I want to prepare this one so that I can carve it for you today. And the first thing I need to do is reset the size of the material. The material that I'm using today is going to be a piece of PVC that I had that was just from another project that I never did. And it's 23 inches wide and it's 20 inches on the y-axis, and it's going to be the 0.25 inches thick. The next part of this is I want to go ahead and get this size correctly. So all I really need to do is just highlight the entire project, grab the handle, and I can pull this and make it larger. to fit this area. I want it centered in the material. So by clicking on the edit menu, coming down to the last one, center to the material, and that is set. And now I want to hit the offset. And I go with the tab menu on the left hand side under the apps. I will drop down and find the offset app. Let that load. And what I'm looking for is to be able to do a distance of 1 inch. So that's 1.0. I do want that to go outward, so I do not click the inward button. And I will keep the original at this point. So let's go ahead. It's still thinking. It's not ready to load yet. You can see the loading button up here. Now that I have some extra items in here that we're going to need to be able to get rid of. And I'll do that in the easel design page itself. So I'm going ahead and import this in. Now, of course, it puts it right on top of the first one, and that's okay. I'll just slide that over. And what I want to be able to do is take this first project and move it out of the way, because this is the image that I want to be able to keep. And now I'm going to slide this over so you can get a better view of it. I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything here, and I want to be able to center this to the material. And there that is located. Now, I said I wanted to get rid of some of these extra things. I really want to get rid of more than that. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this outer offset that I did, and I want to be able to slide that out of the way. And then all these extra items and this entire section I am going to delete. Then I will highlight my outline again, center that to the material, and there's my outline. Then I'm going to go over to this section and capture this entire area. And with all of that highlighted, I'm going to go back to the edit menu and select center to material. So that's what the finished project is going to look like. What I want to be able to do though is just take and put this outer offset on a different workpiece. So there's my new workpiece set up, and I am going to highlight just this outer one, and I'm going to hit Control C, and I'm going to bring it over to the new workpiece. Now I have this set, and this brings this in to exactly where it needs to be. What I want to do though is I don't want to use a 1/16 of an inch bit to carve this. I want to use an 1/8 inch bit. So I'll select that, and I want to make sure that it's going to carve all the way through the material. So that is now done. Now for my project today, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tabs. So this workpiece is now ready to carve. I'm going to move back over to this one. And at this point, all I really need to do is remove this outer offset. And then I have my original drawing set up here. I want to change this back to my 90-degree V-bit. And I want to set a depth of cut of 0.1 inch. And it is now ready to carve. I'm going to open this window up a little bit better so that you can see it. I'm going to hit the Generate the Detail Preview so you can see what it's going to look like. I think that is going to look real good. So I'm going to set this up on the Xcarve to be able to carve it, but I've also had some questions on how do you take this file and be able to generate the same file over into VCarve Desktop or VCarve Pro to be able to carve it. I'll show you that in a moment. Now I changed the depth of cut to 0.05 of an inch, and then I ran the simulation, and you can see that this is going to take about 2.5 hours. And I had also increased the speed. I put this at 70 inches per minute with a pass at 0.028, so basically it will make 2 passes. And it's still going to take 2 hours and 29 minutes, and you can look at that toolpath and see that that is really just crazy. Now this is realistic and it will do the carving and it will do just fine. But what I want to be able to do is take a moment and go over to the VCarve Desktop and take this same exact design and set it up. I've opened up VCarve Desktop, and the first thing I want to do is create a new file. The size that I need on the x-axis is going to be 23 inches. And it's 20 inches on the y-axis, and this is 0.26 of an inch thick. And we are going to stay in inches. The Z0 position is going to be on the material surface, and I'm going to use the bottom left-hand corner as the XY home position. And from there, I can go ahead and click OK. To be able to bring in the file, I need to go right up to this top section right here, click on that, and I look over here to find the same exact file as the Halloween pumpkin cat, and I'm just going to open that. And you'll notice it's not over here. It will be somewhere else on the page, and that's okay, because all I really need to be able to do is come over and I can select this center alignment and put that right into the center of the workspace. Now I highlighted this the second time, and I can grab the handle and do the same thing. I can pull this up and make it larger, and I want to get it the same size or something very, very close to what I had before in the easel software. And that is going to be very, very close. So there's my image. Now to be able to complete this, I want to be able to highlight everything again, and I want to do the offset. So with everything highlighted, I'm going to go over here to close this tab. I'm going to select the offset, and I'm going to set this outward. I want to be able to set this for 1 inch, and let's create the offset. And there is the same offset that we had in the easel software. Now, what I'm going to do is create 2 different tool paths. One for my 90-degree bit, and the second one will be the 1/8 inch bit. What I don't want is this extra part here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and cut that out. I want to do the same thing with this piece. And the same with this one. This needs to go. And I have another piece right here. Now if you look real close, there's a spot right here that I did not see before. I want to cut that out. And if I look around, there's actually a spot right here that I want to get rid of. And I think everything else looks good. So from the design standpoint, this is finished. Pretty simple, very straightforward. What I'm going to do now is create the tool paths. And the first tool path we will set up is this one. So I'm going to go over here, click this little icon, and this is going to be for the cutout. So I need to be able to select this profile tool path, and I want to be able to have this at the start depth of 0. The cut depth is going to be 0.26 inches. I'm going to be using a different bit. I'm going to be using a 0.125 end mill to be able to cut this out. Everything else looks fine. So I'm going to select that. And then everything else will look good. I'm going to scroll down here. I can put this as a cutout. 0.125, and this is my Halloween cat, and I'm going to go ahead and calculate that, and that's going to be the cutout. So we'll close that. I'm going to go back over, and I want to be able to get this back to my 2D view. With this highlighted, I'm going to go ahead and go back over and create my tool path. So that's going to be the V-carve, and I want to be able to have the start depth at my 0, which is going to be on the surface at 0.5. We have a 90-degree V-bit that we're going to be using, and that is going to be just fine there. All of this will be okay. And I want to be able to have this, a V-carve of my Halloween cat. And this is a point, well, I'll just put 90. And we will calculate that. And that is what it's going to look like with the V-carve taken care of. Now I think what I'm actually going to do is carve this at a little bit deeper I'm going to change the depth to 0.07 with my 90-degree V-bit, and we're going to continue anyway on this. I'm not worried about that at this point. I'm going to recalculate it. I'm going to reset the preview. And I think that actually looks pretty good, being a little bit deeper. Now if I reset the preview and slow this down, I want to be able to play this. And you can see how the toolpath is a lot more organized as to how it travels through the different projects. It does not have all of the movement from top to bottom that you saw on the easel. Now I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. And there you go. So you can see the toolpath is going to be totally different than what you saw in the easel program. Now one of the things that I want to be able to do is save these toolpaths now. Alright, now I have my cutout for my 1/8 inch bit with my Halloween cat. So I have that checked. So I'm going to go ahead and save the toolpath. And at this point you can see it listed right here. I'm going to go ahead and change this again. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to leave it as an X-carve an inch in G-code. We're going to experiment and see if that works. So we're going to save the G-code, It still has my cutout file name right there, and I'm going to save it. At this point now, I've got everything closed out. I'm ready to go to the CNC machine and set this up to carve. Now I want to see how long it's going to take to carve my V-Carve toolpath. So I can click on that time right there, and it should take 39 minutes to be able to carve that, versus on the easel it was 2.5 hours. So that is a much better time. Now I'm going to be using my glue and tape method to be able to hold this PVC board down. And I've had some questions that people have asked me to go into more detail. And I know I have done a number of videos on this, but the blue tape that I use is just a blue painter's tape. The glue that I use is from Starbond. I'm using a medium Starbond CA glue. You can use thin, and quite frankly, you can use the thick glue, but I prefer to use the Starbond medium. And along with that, I'll use the Starbond accelerator to be able to make the glue where it dries virtually instantly. Now in the description below, I'm going to have a link so that if you choose to purchase this, you can purchase this CA glue at a 15% discount. So let me go ahead and get this set up. I'm going to put 3 strips of tape, top, middle, and the bottom, and that should be plenty to be able to secure this. Now I'm putting 1 row of tape right here. I'm going to put another tape at the very top. And then I'm going to put 1 in the middle. Now what I'm going to do is slide this out of the way for a moment. And we'll get the tape down onto the wasteboard. I do need to have that lined up, so I know that it's going to be right here. So that one's taken care of. Then the one at the very top. You do need to have your wasteboard dusted off, and I had a little bit of sawdust right there. So this one will go right here. Yep, that looks good. Now the next thing I will do is put the glue down, and you don't need a whole lot. I'm just going to put a little dab between each of my spaces on my wasteboard. and that's plenty. I'll take my accelerator and I'll go ahead and spray this. Then I'll flip this over and position it in place. Press it down and it will be secured. When I first turned on the machine, I set the XY0 position. So that way, when I was ready to move the gantry back into position, all I had to do was type in the appropriate numbers and it moved to that exact point. So right now, the XY0 position is set. The only thing that I need to do now is set the Z axis. Now because I'm doing the V carving first, of course, we're going to change the bit over to a 90-degree V bit and do the Z probe. Now because the X and Y axis is already set, I'm just going to use my Z probe. So I'm going to clip this on, slide this underneath, and of course plug it in over here. I'll make sure that's exactly where it needs to be. And then I'll go to the macro tab and select my Z probe. Alright, the Z probe now is completed. Now I'll just move back over to my XY0 position and we'll be ready to carve. Okay, we now have this exactly at the home position for all three axes, X, Y, and the Z axis. So now I just need to load the file for the V-carve portion of my Halloween cat, and I'll be ready to start to carve. At this point, I go to the file mode, select that, click on the browse, and it opens up this window, and I can just search through the files and locate my V-carve for my Halloween cat. There it is. Click on it, click open, and it enters right into that window. So at this point now, one habit that I always do is I come over to the visualization, I click on that button. I want to make sure that it looks like what I want to be able to carve. And the yellow bar is actually showing where the bit is, and that's going to show the toolpath on exactly what is going to carve. So now at this point, all I need to do is hit send and it will begin the carving. Now you can see that it's just following the exact same toolpath that we had simulated before. And if you notice, it follows a logical sequence and it does not have that wasted movement going from the top and bottom of the design. It keeps pretty much on path and being able to keep this logical sequence, and that's really what makes it where it saves time. Now one of the things that I actually could do is I could have used a roughing pass with another tool to be able to carve out those flat areas instead of allowing the V-bit to do that. That actually would have cut some time off of the carving. But if you look at it closely, it still did a very good job of being able to cut that flat area with that V-bit. So I'm actually pretty impressed with that. But here again, in the interest of time, it would have been much better to be able to do a roughing pass and cut away the bulk of the material and then come back just with the V-bit to do those outlines. Another area that could have saved time is to be able to edit the nodes and eliminate some of the different nodes that were there that just creates the little jagged motions that you see from time to time. And those little jagged movements really are not necessary for this type of project because you really don't need that type of detail. For example, on the cat's tail, it could have just been this straight line instead of having it where it showed the hair on the tail of the cat. Really not necessary. So that was another way that you could save the time. But all in all, if you look at the time, the actual time is 46 minutes and 13 seconds. Now this is at the XY0 home position, and what I need to do now is just change bits. I need to take the 90-degree bit out and put in the 1/8 inch bit. I have the bit changed now, and what I'm going to do is move back over to this area to be able to Z this to get that in the position that I need it. Okay, with the bit in place, I move the router over to where I need to have it, and I have the touch place in position, and it's all hooked up. So I'm just going to go ahead and probe that now, and then move back to my home position. Okay, now I have this right back at the home position, and I'm ready to be able to start the carve. So from here, I'm just going to load the second file. I do the same thing as we did before. We're going to go over to the file mode, and we click on browse, and we go over and find the other file. Okay, and here's the file right here, cut out for my Halloween cat. So I'm going to click on that and open it. It's always a good habit to be able to visualize this, and you can see exactly what it's going to be cutting out. Alright, so I'll close that window, and I'm ready to hit send. Let me turn the router on. You know, using the 1/8 inch bit, this is going to actually make 2 passes to be able to cut this all the way through. And now these were the default settings that were already set up in the VCarve desktop. I did not change any of those settings at all. But here it is completing the first rotation, drops down, and this is where it's going to completely cut through the PVC. And as it comes around to the end, this actually helps to smooth the edge of the PVC, and it clears out some of the PVC dust that's in there. But now it just comes right back to the home position, and this carve is completed. Now as far as the total time of this portion of the project, this was 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Not bad. So we have to remove this now. And this comes off real easy. And there's the project. We'll clean that up. I'm going to leave the masking on it. All I have to do is to decide how to paint it. That looks real good. Hi everyone. Thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.